Hey, what is up guys, Massive here, back to do another video, and we are on Tournament Oasis. That is right, it's essentially a reskin of Twilight City, which is a Predator map. Anyways, I'll be playing as the Reaper-17, and before I begin, I'd like to thank Ronald and Oleg for their donations I have received. So thank you very much guys, I appreciate that. Really awesome support overall from this community. Keeps me motivated, and I can remain confident that I'll do videos like this. As long as I get games to play, I will be continuing to do content and making patch updates. I am starting to make a document for R23 containing ideas and things that we've discussed over the past month as a community for the next version. That ultimately won't be implemented until, I don't know, July, August. But we're in the early stages of the next update. We may not get another update if the mood of the community is that they don't want an update, that's fine. But nevertheless, I am going to note down issues and balance concerns that are in this current version. The current version has been really stable. There's been no crashes, no desyncs hardly. So the old saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This game, not too much is happening so far. Of course, as Reaper-17, you don't have very much you can do early on aside from disintegrators. Sometimes I decide to build them, but on this map, I found it doesn't really do a whole lot. Often your opponent can save their spike if you go for the sins and try and harass them. One thing is coming to mind though, I could maybe send an engineer to their expansion tip field and wait for the MCV to expand there. So right at the beginning of the game, build an engineer and send it right to their expansion. It's unlikely they'll have stealth detection. So maybe build 3 engineers at the start and queue the first one to the enemy. Yeah, food for thought. That's something I like about casting these games. After the fact, I can observe what I've done wrong and what I can improve upon, and even come up with new strategies and ideas. A game as old as Kane's Draft, you still can come up with new ideas. Every map is different. It's not just the patch and the balance, but the map also plays a significant factor in what is viable, as build order is, as far as build orders are concerned. Building Seekers is, since I was afraid I'm going to get hit by an APC pitbull push, which Senna likes to do. And if you guys don't know, I am playing Senna, who I consider to be one of the best players in the game right now. He is in form, playing very well. He's going to be playing as the Steel Talons in this particular game. Either that or GDI. Very difficult though, as Reaper-17, to combat the newly improved Mammoth tanks with their improved turret rotation speed and rocket damage against vehicles. Improvements have been made across the board to improve GDI factions' chances against Skrins without the need to build Firehawks every game. That was one of the goals of R22 and prior patches, to make the matchups not so one-dimensional, and I'm happy to say that that has been rectified and we no longer have Firehawks in every single match. You can't do that now, since you can just counter it with a storm column, though there are ways around of for GDI to bait shots from the storm column to save their Firehawks and kill the technology assembler, which is the name for the Skrin's tier 3 tech structure. Yes, it's quite a mouthful, these names of Skrin buildings, and if you guys have any modding experience, they're called something completely different. For instance, the Warp Sphere, the vehicle production structure, is called the Gateway. The airfield, the gravity stabilizer, in the game files, is called the Warp Beacon. And the Nexus is the refinery. Oh my god, it's a bit like StarCraft, the naming. when you have units like the tripod and the carrier, you do think it's the Colossus and the carrier from Protoss faction. Seekers, though, doing work in his base, was able to kill a hive. Also got 3 mecha pieces, which is a pretty unorthodox choice against GDI, because they can build shadows, and he's already got one out. He's got 2 factories, and he's building shadows, so this is not looking too good for me. I have equipped these with some disc segments, so they're going to be effective at countering his hammerheads. Hammerheads need to be careful, can't engage them quite like orcas can. Orcas really are the ultimate counter if you insist on aircraft. Which is a fair choice against mechas since they move very fast, so getting orcas out is a good idea. They only cost 1,100 bucks. You can suicide them in and it'd be effective, even if you trade 1 or 2 for a mechapede, it's worth it. But GDI have nowhere near as much difficulty countering mechapedes compared to Nod factions do, just because of that Shatterer and Sonic Emitic line damage, as well as Orcas. Hexapod, I'm going to equip with 2 Ravagers and an Assimilator. This is something you would never see in the base game, and let me explain why. The Engineer garrison in the Hexapod heals the Hex about 66% faster per Assimilator compared to Vanilla. Now, that was terrible in Vanilla, guys. So that is one reason for the Assimilator. And the Ravager segments, when you upgrade blue shards, the Ravagers inside the Hex also fire blue shards, and that will increase their DPS by, I think it's about 75%. Don't quote me on this, even though I inputted that like a year and a half ago or more. It's been almost 2 years since this change came into effect, but it's been very well received, and people love the blue flame hexapod and blue shard eradicator. It's also essential to dodge and kite the EMP grenades. You can't really hex lame anymore as Skrin or Traveler. You never could as Reaper-17, but putting a Ravager in your hex will allow you to carefully dodge these EMP grenades, which are very effective in 1.02 plus. They don't bug and they're very responsive. They only shoot 1 EMP grenade, as in the whole squad doesn't fire them. The reason for that being is if they fire 4 EMP grenades, not only do they ping off the shields, but the grenades will also EMP and lock down a shielded tripod. So just 1 EMP squad could EMP a shielded unit, which kind of was counterintuitive since it's supposed to resist EMP, but since those 4 grenades, those 4 projectiles land at different intervals, that was the case, yeah. Unfortunately, I was forced to use the stasis shield on my drone. I should have used it on my drone platform, to be honest. Would have saved it. I'm thinking, yeah, Leaf, why are you not using that on the drone platform? I stasis 1 mammoth tank instead. But it's okay, I have a gravity stabilizer, a warp beacon. And I'm just about going to be able to defend these mammoths off. Nice counter attack from Senna. Will deny my expansion. He's established himself an expansion. I'm in big trouble, as you can see. I lost my MCV. I'm in a terrible situation here. And he's even going to destroy my tripods. 2 tripods going down. Hammerhead I'm going to be able to take out. I need to deal with those husks. I can use the buzzer. Swarm support power. Sniper damage does deal with husks quite nicely. So you can use sniper teams, shadow teams, and buzzers or commandos to kill husk. But in the case of a commando, we'll just try and C4 it, which is less than optimal. Could change that, to be honest. So rather than it trying to C4 husk, it could use its weapon instead. Might be something to consider. Man, oh man, like I'm coming up with some nice ideas here. Like I said, husk goes down to the sniper damage of those buzzers. Hexapod taking huge damage. Those mammoths have caught it out in the open. 2 tripods in center space. Those harvesters are going to need to be pulled back. 4 Seekers are also waiting in the expansion. I need to get some damage, significant damage dealt. This Hexbot able to crush 2 Mav tanks. Bad control there from center. Maybe he was looking at those buzzers or his base that was being harassed by those tripods. He lost 2 Mav tanks, but his army count is still substantially more than mine. Look at those green beams of the tripods. Kane's Draft has certainly aged like fine wine. Visually and audio wise, I think it's way above. It has exceeded everyone's expectations. I remember reading in forums from 2007 and 6 that Kane's Draft and Command & Conquer 3, well, it would have been Command & Conquer 3 at that time, looked bad. People at that point said it looked bad. The graphics weren't that great. Fast forward to 2025, and I think this game has aged fantastic. Graphically, it looks amazing. The firing effects look awesome. The shields on those tripods look awesome. Railguns look great. The projectiles overall. Nothing to complain about here, really. My base is in tatters, though. So you take out my main. I finally have set up 2 ref on my 3rd. I'm going to use the Icor Seed here to charge up these tripods. I have not only the attenuated force fields, sorry, the shield generators for my tripods, but upgraded the conversion reserves, which will double the capacity of my Reaper tripods. They're going to be able to hold 20 shots instead of 10. And against those Mav tanks, everything counts. I need to use the charge shots here as much as possible. I'm getting resources from this Hex, though in R22, resource generation on the Hexbot has been nerfed a bit, just because it's a bit more consistent now. Before, the Hexbot wouldn't recycle everything, since the ability recharged every 0.75 seconds or something like that. It didn't work 100% of the time. Now it does. And I had to offset it by making it recycle just 10% of the unit's value instead of 15%. I'm quoting a lot of numbers here. I could be wrong, but you guys get the gist of what I'm saying.
Construction complete.
I'm going to transition now into Ravagers. Got that blue shard upgrade, so I figure, hey, why not? This is something that you definitely wouldn't see in vanilla. But in 1.2 plus, Ravagers have more range. Blue shards deal 10% more damage. And they're a pretty solid transition if your opponent doesn't have hammerheads. If he's got hammerheads, yeah, the situation obviously changes. Ravagers then become terrible. But I'm building them predominantly because I fear an infantry switch. If he goes for zone troopers, then yeah, I don't need to say anymore. There's no better counter than building Ravagers to a zone trooper spam transition. Do need to be careful of the GDI commander, however. Mav tank out in the open. Could deal with that. He's taken over my TIF spike, so he's going to be enjoying a nice 30 credits a second in resources. And look at this army composition of mine. Both of us opting for a huge ground forces. We're going to see what's going to happen here. I'm confident I can engage him with these tripods, with these shardwalkers. I'm a little bit low on the shardwalker count, so if he does build hammerheads here, I'm in trouble. But I figured, hey, he's probably not going to do that since Reaper-17, right? They have blue shards and shardwalkers. He's going to be building infantry. He's going to be building Mav tanks, but to my surprise, he actually has hammerheads. He's built a lot of hammerheads, and those Ravagers have no way to defend themselves against that AP ammo. I'm going to be forced back. I cannot engage here. That infantry is a problem. Maybe if I had built shardwalkers, but it's a risk you take going for Ravager squads. They're better than shardwalkers against vehicles, but if there are hammerheads out, then obviously it's a useless unit.
Construction complete. Training. Building.
That army is huge, but I do have a stasis shield available, as well as a Buzzstorm support power. A lot of his units are stacking together, so I'm going to use it on the bulk of his infantry force. And these Ravagers are moving forward. I need to place down AA. Those Hammerheads are working on my infantry, thinning out those Ravager squads. Mechapede there as well, doing its job, killing the Hammerheads. And since I have a portal right next to my tripods, I can use the assimilators to reclaim those tripod huts. I'm thinning out this infantry. Epic Buzzle Storm coming in, not only from the support power, but I have a lot of them coming out from the portals. That's one thing that you got to be cautious about as a GDI player, engaging a scrin without pushing into a scrin player's base without an MCV. It's tricky to end the game sometimes. The scrin can do what I've done just there and put down 3 or 4 portals and spam buzzers, spam disintegrators. Anti-infantry is crucial at that point. And GDI sometimes suffer from it at the end of a huge engagement, since by then all the APCs and Hammerheads would have been taken out, and you're left without very much to deal with the infantry. So I'm going to go back on the attack now. Huge armies confronting one another. That was a miracle I had held that attack off, especially considering I caked the first engagement. I was afraid he'd have Hammerheads. That's why I'm going for Shock Troopers now, which aren't the best, but they can at least shoot up, which is the main thing. A Warp Sphere wouldn't go amiss at this point, just to use the reconstruction drones and heal these tripods back up. I'm going to target this husk so he doesn't reclaim it. Look at those Hammerheads, man. So effective. And I'm struggling to close this game out. Senna wants to remain in this game. Remember, he still maintains control of 3 tip spikes. I'm only down to just the 1. I don't have a tier 3. So I'm going to have to go back for that if I wish to build a hexapod again. But I'm going to go for aircrafter now, since I believe he may go for more Hammerheads. I was really furious at the Hammerheads. It's been the bane of my existence in this particular game. If it weren't for the Hammerheads, this would have been much easier. He's going to have to confront me in the middle of the map. He can't afford for me to take all of this blue tip. I've also set up a refinery at my main again, since that has regrown. One thing I didn't utilize in this game were the growth stimulators. As Reaper-17, that's an amazing thing to build. You should build them whenever you can. Well, actually, I do have one on my expansion. You get passive income, $15 every 5 seconds. Yes, it's not much, but over time that can amount to, say, a tripod. If you build more than 2 or 3 of them, then it is a significant amount of resources. Another perk of playing Reaper-17 is the fact that you get a free Tiberium vibration scan, so you can reveal where your opponent's harvesters are and take them out, as I did there. I was able to queue attacks on those harvesters in advance with my Storm Riders. Storm Riders, though, are out, and they are going to be hunting for harvesters or Hammerheads. He's going for infantry. I'm building up those Shard Walkers now. I've got the attenuated fields, attenuated force fields, and blue shards, which makes them a lethal counter to infantry, and Reaper-17 definitely needs something like it, since they don't have Devastator warships. If it were Scrin or Traveler, then the clear choice would be to go for Devastator warships along with the Gunwalkers. Another thing you can do against Mass Inf as Scrin is to phase your Gunwalkers and crush the enemy Inf. A lot of people say that's lame, I agree, but it's an option available to you. And this army is now being thinned out by the Shardwalkers. I have an eco advantage at this point. I'm taking more Tiberium. That blue tip propelled me into the lead, and I was able to significantly get ahead there with my army of gunwalkers and tripods. Anyways, guys, thank you very much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed that one there on Tournament Oasis. Thought it was a bit of a slugfest. Close, could have gone either way. Pretty balanced matchup. Before that would have been heavily in favor of Reaper-17, or it would have been just Firehawks against Skrin. That was quite impressive. Often ended the games with the GDI player steamrolling the Skrin with mammoth tanks, with the Skrin player not having anything but tier 2 units. But that is easier to stop now, like I mentioned in that game. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed it. Before I go there, I want to thank my Patreon members for supporting me and my channel. Thank you very much, guys. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be here doing what I'm doing. So this is it from me, Master Leaf, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace out.